Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here as we get ready to kick off the first inaugural season of the NNSCRA Skittles Super Speedway Series. Today we're getting set for qualifying, as this is going to be qualifying for the drivers that are in Division 1, preparing for their first race of the season here at the Daytona International Speedway. 2 rounds of qualifying here today. The top 10 from round 1 will advance to round 2 to try for the pole position. And we've already got some cars that are making their way onto the racetrack here. And we are going to take this opportunity in this 30-minute qualifying session to try and introduce to you all of the drivers that are going to be taking part here in Division 1 for the season. And also help me get a little bit used to seeing these particular drivers and these particular paint schemes, and hopefully not make that many mistakes here during the course of the beginning of the season. So, let's take a look at the first car that got on track, and that was the number 76 Gatorade Flow Toyota Camry of Ryan Butcher. Ryan Butcher out of AJR Racing. And it looks like he's going to be the first one that'll take the green flag to start a lap. These drivers are allowed to make as many laps as they want to within the 30-minute period. And as I stated earlier, the top 10 speeds that you will see there on the top left of your chart, they will advance to the next round to try and qualify for the pole. Spots 11 through 40 will be determined in this round of qualifying. Andrew Miller out of Backmarker Motorsports. Number 47, Detroit Become Human Chevy Camaro. And we saw this particular car take part in the Snickers Cup Series Daytona 500, finished top 5, so they definitely know how to run here at Daytona. We'll see how they do in terms of qualifying here today. Got a pack of cars here. Diego Yepes, the 69 Autism Speaks Chevrolet, out of Andrews Racing, getting bypassed on the high side by Shane Lake. Car very similar to the car he ran in the Hershey's Cup Series, number 55, out of Dog Pound Incorporated. Check up on the top left of the speeds. We'll be covering who has the top 10 fastest speeds as we get closer towards the end of the session, because we're going to use the beginning part here, as I said, to basically show you the different drivers that are taking part in this division, as we're focused here on the number 6 of Jose Mills out of Potato Motorsports, the GM Goodwrench Chevrolet, kind of a throwback to a paint scheme that Kevin Harvick drove at one time with the red and silver. Number 24 on track of Preston Plord, the Pepsi Chevrolet. Preston driving for Preston Plord Motorsports, PPM for short. And there's the 42 of Sebastian Kukulon, who is one of 2 drivers for William Brock Motorsports this season. I believe William Brock is in the other division. We'll see him in Division 2. So Kukulon, the only representative for the team here in Division 1. Sebastian Kukulon, of course, the defending Coors Light Truck Series champion. Trying to have his success over here in a Cup Series. This car looks very familiar to those of you that followed the Coors Light Truck Series for its first 3 seasons. It was a Dodge Ram at the time, but the paint scheme transferred over for Joshua Sekuli, the number 73 Ford. I'm not really certain what the sponsorship is because I don't read Japanese, but Sekuli in a Ford this season for WF9 Motorsports. This is, I think, one of the coolest cars on the racetrack here. This is the 9 of Jack Mitchell. Mitchell actually painted his own car as well, the NBC Sports Chevy Camaro out of JM01 Motorsports. Beautiful car here. Mitchell and a number of other drivers making their very first start on this channel in this series, of course, as well. As a matter of fact, all of them are making their first start in this series. And are you ready for Freddy? Because the Five Nights at Freddy's Toyota Camry of Ashlyn Boyd. That car out of Super Motorsports. Ashlyn Boyd spent a good number of seasons down in the Pizza Hut X Series. And we'll see how Ashlyn does here. I think last season Ashlyn Boyd was in the Last Slate Series. And there is Trent Dunham, the number 1 Sega Chevrolet Camaro out of Sega Motorsports. Trent Dunham, a former Daytona 500 winner on this channel, winning the Season 10 Snickers Cup Series Daytona 500, but he and Daytona don't always seem to get along, so we'll have to see how he does here this weekend. Big pack of cars right here. You're looking at Riley Spurley-Tube, the number 38 Hertz Chevrolet out of JJ Motorsports. Riley Spurley-Tube, of course, a former winner from last season in the Last of Us Light Series. And Cody Smart, who had a career year last season in the Hershey's Cup season when he was driving for Young Motorsports, now in the number 94 Best Buy Ford. So we'll see how Cody does here in Super Speedway action. Another scheme that was transferred from the Coors Light Truck Series ride over here to the Skittles Super Speedway Series ride. Matt Haas, former Hershey's Cup Series champion. The number 8 Speed Raceway, I believe it's called, for the sponsorship on his Toyota Camry out of Haas Racing. There's William Duncan, the DeWalt Ford, number 17. That is out of the Flying Aces International Stables, as he'll bring that Ford to pit road. And the very familiar number 74 Travel Motor Coach Chevrolet of James Qualls. Qualls, of course, out of Joanna Atwood Motorsports. Got another pack here, this one being led by the 68 of Roger Ray, the Delphi Chevrolet out of JJ Motorsports, a teammate to Riley Spurley-Tube, who we saw just moments ago. And then there's Laurent Lamont, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, in the Ward Burton National Wildlife Reserve Chevy Camaro, the number 36. That's out of Ward Burton Racing. Right behind him, J.J. Roberts, the number 81 Chevrolet, sponsored by FedEx Ground. Roberts was a former winner in the Coors Light Truck Series last season, winning, if I recall correctly, at, I want to say it was Kentucky. And Roberts driving out of Roberts Racing. Right behind him, you've got the Burger King Ford number 16. We saw the 17 of William Duncan. This is his teammate Vance Caldwell out of Flying Aces International. And behind them, you've got the Tampa Bay Lightning, number 91 Ford of Tristan Folks, out of Folks Motorsports. And behind him, you've got the number 12 Dodge. This is one of very few Dodges we have in the series, but that's Eli Bright. Eli Bright, who has multiple wins on this channel. Most of them, to my quick knowledge, came in the Coors Light Truck Series. I know he has a Pizza Deck Series win to his credit as well. Eli Bright driving out of the Gamington Motor Racing Stables. Got a couple of the John Deere cars in this division. One's a Ford, rather, and one's a Chevy. You're looking at the Ford of Zach Winkle, the number 97. Zach Winkle driving for... Oh, I don't have a team down for him, so I'm not really sure. There's the other John Deere car. That's the Chevrolet of Zachary Taylor for Zachary Taylor Motorsports, the number 85 Camaro. As they get hung up behind the 97 of Zach Winkle, looking at the 04 of Patrick Zitch. Patrick Zitch out of PCMB Motorsports, the Fire Department of New York, his sponsorship. Beautiful paint scheme painted by Matthew Rodriguez. Kyle Matthews, former Hershey's Cup Series champion and also a former Daytona 500 winner as well in the Hershey's Cup Series. Driving the Mellow Yellow Black and Yellow 09 for Retro Racing Enterprises. And the Skittles Super Speedway Series, there's the Skittles Toyota of Philip Goldberg. Goldberg in the number 18 out of the Goldberg Motorsports Stables. A lot of single car teams in this series. So I think a lot of your working together in these super speedway type races is going to be your friends are where you find them, as Jake Rogers, former champion in the NNSCRA, the Season 2, I believe it was, Oreo Truck Series champion, and the number 98 champion Auto Parts Ford. Rogers out of Rogers Racing. Nice to see him back in the series. Seth Cole, the number 33 Skittles Camaro. That's an entry out of Backmarker Motorsports. We saw his teammate Andrew Miller not too long ago. Right behind him, JT Bryant, who ended a long winless streak, winning last year in the Hershey's Cup Series at, I believe it was Texas Motor Speedway. He's in the Steve Park Tribute Throwback Pennzoil number 22 out of Young Motorsports. Jay Jefferson, another entry. We've got 3 entries, I believe, in this division out of JJ Motorsports. Jay Jefferson, the number 28 Cobalt Chevrolet. Behind him, you've got the first representation of Otter Island Motorsports, the Toyota team. Carter Friesen, the number 75. Sponsored by, I believe it's, I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce it. I think it's Kona EpiPen. And to his inside is the number 48 Lowe's Chevy Camaro, the Jim Johnson fan of Jonathan Zorline. Zorline driving, oh, no, we don't have a team for him either. There's a couple of drivers here we don't actually have teams for. Joshua Lee, the Quicken Loans number 5. This is actually a throwback to a scheme that he drove back in the Hershey's Cup Series. I think it was back in Season 3 or Season 4. Drove number 5 and had Quicken Loans as a sponsor. He's got it here as well in the Skittles Super Speedway Series. Joshua Lee driving for Real Motorsports. As to his inside is Jessica Shelton. Shelton driving the, I believe it's RBK or RKB. I don't remember exactly what it is. It's a international football team, and by football I mean soccer, but they call it football. So a new sponsorship look here on the 02 out of Retro Racing Enterprises. Saw her teammate Kyle Matthews earlier, so 2 of the Retro Racing Enterprises cars here in Division 1. The other one, Charles Sanford, we'll see him in Division 2. As you see, the 32 of Derek Hamill. Hamill with the throwback to the Juan Pablo Montoya Indy car on his Target Chevrolet. Derek Hamill with that lightning bolt on the side, and of course you saw there the number in a box like they would have had on the Indy car that year. I don't remember exactly what year it was from, though. Johnny Gardner, the number 7 Pepsi Crystal Chevrolet. Beautiful paint scheme there. Gardner, another driver who last year in the Hershey's Cup Series had a career year, made it into the playoffs. And Gardner very good at the super speedway racing, so we'll see how he does. Gardner out of Fitzwater, Australia Racing. See if there's anybody that we might have missed here that we have not yet documented. I think there's a couple we might not have gotten to, but maybe we did. And if we did, then we can start focusing on the speeds here. We already did this pack. Oh, there's one we didn't have. Austin LaPlante out of LaPlante Racing, the throwback to Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s 2008 Amp Energy, number 88 Chevrolet. And we didn't focus a whole heck of a lot on Diego Yepes because he was getting passed, but there's the 69 Autism Speaks Chevrolet of Diego Yepes out of Andrews Racing. And I think we may have covered them all now. So that's the 40 drivers that are going to be taking part in this season's Division 1, vying for 8 spots in the Division 1 playoffs to have a chance of battling for the championship. There you see Jay Jefferson, Derek Hamill coming off pit road together. Jose Mills coming back on track as well. Oh, there's a car we missed. The 00 Mountain Dew Baja Blast Toyota Camry of Brady Burkhart. So now I think we've gotten them all. And right now, top of the leaderboard is that car right there. Tristan Folks, number 91, with a 43.611. Shane Lake currently second. Vance Caldwell third. Preston Plord in fourth. Laurent Lamount is currently in fifth. Trent Dunham sixth. Matt Haas in seventh. Ashlyn Boyd eighth. Roger Ray ninth. And right now, Zach Winkle in the 97 holds the final spot. And as things stand right now, with still over 15 minutes to go, those would be the 10 drivers that would move on to the final round to try and compete for the pole position, but still a long ways to go. Still an opportunity for anyone to try and hop up into the top 10, having to beat a 43.7. That's a big pack right here. I'm wondering if we might see someone that's in this group that's outside the top 10, like maybe J.J. Roberts or Eli Bright, Johnny Gardner, maybe jump up into the top 10. You want to be in a big pack to be able to produce the speed necessary to get up to the top of the leaderboard. This is not a huge group, but 6 drivers lined up here. Zach Winkle, Jake Rogers. Oh, There's a car we didn't get. I actually forgot that both the Hertz cars were in this field. Riley Spurleytube in the 38, and we're looking at Benjamin Miles here in the 25. The way you'll tell them apart is Spurleytube's got the black hood for his Hertz sponsorship, and Benjamin Miles has the yellow hood for his Hertz sponsorship. And because I saw one Hertz car and just naturally assumed that it was still Riley Spurleytube, that's why I missed seeing Benjamin Miles here, so my apologies on that. New driver to the top of the leaderboard, Cody Smart with a 43.517. Now what pack is he in that he was able to set that lap? Carter Friesen hitting pit road. Here's the group that Cody Smart's in, and he just set that lap. So now he's up into the top 10 at the top of the leaderboard, and that just dropped Zach Winkle outside of the top 10. I'm not certain, but I think Riley Spurleytube may have actually just jumped up into the top 10 as well, up to 7th. And you see he's at the tail end of this pack. So this pack right here has only got about 7 cars, but they're producing some pretty good speed. So Cody Smart putting himself in a good position to move on to the second round of qualifying. And as I'm looking at it right now, out of the top 5, 3 of them are Fords. 1st, 2nd, and 5th. You've got a Toyota and Matt Haas in 3rd, and you've got a Chevy and Shane Lake in 4th. And for the most part, the rest of it is filled up with Chevrolets, as Matt Haas just jumped up to 2nd, Dunham up to 3rd, and Spurleytube up to 4th. Just like that, Tristan Foltz, who was top of the leaderboard, is falling down to 5th. So this is the group right here that's definitely producing the speed, because your top 3 fastest laps are set of the drivers that are in this group. The 94 of Smart, the 8 of Haas, and the 1 of Dunham. Austin LaPlante has also jumped up into the top 10 in the 10th position. So let's watch and see if, with Trent Dunham on the bottom line of this group, if maybe he might be able to jump up to the top of the leaderboard with this lap. Let's see. Does anything change from this group when they cross the line? Doesn't look like it. But I have to think, based on what I'm seeing here in terms of speeds, with a 43.4, I think Cody Smart is definitely safe now. And I think that Haas, Dunham, and Spurleytube posting 43.5s, I think they're safe to make it into the next round as well. Although we do still have over 12 minutes left in this qualifying session, so it may not be over. I'm looking at someone back here in this group, maybe like Seth Cole or Joshua Sakuli. They might be able to set a pretty good lap here. Let's see. Seth Cole just now got to the tail end of this pack, so let's see what he's going to set here. His fastest lap, 32nd fastest at well, it was a 44 something. He just put it up to 31st at a 43.9. So still at this point not putting on enough speed to get himself up there. Oh, someone just jumped up into the top 10. I think it was the 12 up to 10th place. I think he just displaced Austin LaPlante, so Eli Bright now in the top 10, and he's in this group. There he is, the HP Dodge. That 91's in a good spot back there. Tristan Foltz, he's 5th fastest, but he might be able to do something. Look at there, Vance Caldwell going down alongside of the 32 of Derek Hamill, who is just merging back onto the track. I think he was trying to get some side draft there. I don't know if that's going to help him in a lap time or not, but we'll see. Caldwell's already 7th. Eli Bright just got displaced by William Duncan, and his lap's not going to be any better this time. So William Duncan jumping up into the top 10. Let's follow the 68 of Roger Ray. We saw him up in the top 10 not too long ago. He's on the inside line of this pack. Oh, we got trouble! Oh, we got a big wreck! One car's up and into the air. Was that Eli Bright? That was Eli Bright. He just wrecked there in turn 2, along with the 81 of J.J. Roberts. And Bright, well, he was at one point inside of the top 10. He's no longer, and I think he's going to be going to a backup car, as will J.J. Roberts. And so both of these drivers, regardless of where they are in the finishing results here for this qualifying session, they're both going to be starting at the rear of the field, as they're both going to be in backup cars. Both cars were able to get out of the way, so NNSCRA officials not throwing the caution, keeping the qualifying session going, but that was a scary wreck right there with both those drivers. And both will be heading to backup cars, so tough break for both of them. And we will have, maybe by now, maybe not yet, but you will see what just happened, courtesy of the NNSCRA split cam, as we had a new driver pop into the top 10. Joshua Sakuli up to 6th fastest with a 43.637. So we're starting to see a lot of Fords popping up into the top 10 now. Smart there in 1st, Folks in 5th, Sakuli in 6th, Vance Caldwell 8th, and Duncan right now in that critical 10th position with a 43.678. Hoping that's going to be enough to get him into round 2 of qualifying. This group about to catch up to the 75 of Carter Friesen, so it may slow their momentum a little bit. Let's see if Duncan improves. Nope, that time was a 44.2. And there you see they've already gotten the backup car out for Eli Bright. So now Eli Bright and J.J. Roberts, they're basically just out there now just trying to log some laps, get used to their backup car, because it doesn't matter where they had a speed posted here in this session, they are going to be starting at the tail end of the field when we take the green for the first race of the season. Looking here at Kyle Matthews, 25th fastest. Not the speed they were looking for out of this mellow yellow Chevrolet. And as we look at Eli Bright in the backup, his fastest lap in his primary car was a 43.714, 12th fastest. That's a tough break, as that fast machine is now on the hook. And we'll have to see if he can, maybe get a little bit more speed out of this backup car, but I don't know. That's a tough break for him. A lot of drivers here not having the benefit of running in a pack. Derek Hamill has spent a good portion of this session on pit road, and as a consequence, he's not been able to really merge with any group, produce some really good draft speed, and he is currently scored dead last in this qualifying session at 40th. Maybe it's a plan, though, that they don't want to run with cars, because we saw what happened just moments ago with Roberts and Bright running in a pack, and now both of them are going to be starting near the rear of the field. Benjamin Miles, not a whole lot of speed out of that car. He's 38th fastest so far. Philip Goldberg, 33rd fastest. Patrick Zitch, 36th fastest. So these drivers here, either not in a pack to produce a whole lot of speed to get them to the top of the leaderboard, or right now they're just not really worrying about lap times. I mean, it is a super speedway, so I don't think it really matters where you start particularly. We've seen drivers so many times be able to work their way from the back of the pack up towards the front of the field. But a lot of drivers say, too, they want to start up near the front because you have a better chance of avoiding being collected up in the big one when and if it strikes. Said Eli Bright was 12th fastest before he had to go to his backup car. J.J. Roberts, 22nd fastest so far in this session. Looking at Preston Plord there in the 24. If I can get on him, there we go. Preston right now is scored 9th fastest. One of very few Chevrolets right now in the top 10. He's one of 3. Trent Dunham is, one of 4. Trent Dunham, Riley Spurley-Tube, and Shane Lake are the other 3, as Andrew Miller behind him comes to pit road. Miller 18th fastest right now. A lot of drivers on pit road. Shane Lake's on pit road. Gardner, Spurley-Tube. There's Sebastian Kukulon, Ryan Butcher. Actually, Kukulon now coming back out on track. So too is Jessica Shelton, as we have about 6 minutes remaining. Austin LaPlante, 15th fastest. He was in the top 10 a while ago, but got dropped out when we had that big pack of cars like Dunham and Haas and Smart all jump up to the top of the leaderboard. Ashlyn Boyd right now 16th fastest in his Toyota. Bunch of Chevys lined up, and now 2 of them going to hit pit road here. The 48 and the 5, who in any other series probably would be teammates, but they're not in this series, Zorlin and Lee. There's Cody Smart, who right now has the fastest lap. Little group here as Derek Hamill finally merges in with some drivers. Let's see if maybe merging with this group, if he can finally break out of the cellar of 40th fastest. He's going to merge with this group with Brady Burkhart, Benjamin Miles, and Patrick Zitch. And he'll be at the tail end of this group, so he'll have the better lap of the 4, being the last car in this draft. See if he can run better than a 44.060. That's his fastest lap so far here today. And that is about a 2 6/10 off of the fastest lap set so far in this session by Cody Smart, who we just saw was returning back to the racetrack. Not sure I would come back out on track if I'm the 94. He's pretty much safely into the next round, so why take a chance of wrecking your car? Burkhart lost a little touch with those top two there, as consequence so did Hamill. But let's see if Hamill breaks out of the cellar here. Can he beat a 44, almost a 44 flat? Nope, 45.3 for the 32. So even in the draft, that car's not producing a whole lot of speed. There's Riley Spurley tube, 4th fastest. Looks like he's safely going to be in. Shane Lake, if nobody, if a group of cars don't have a burst of speed here in the last 4 minutes, I think he's going to safely be into the next round as well. And how about a couple of the teammates out of Flying Aces International? Vance Caldwell, the 16, William Duncan, the 17. Nice run for both of those cars, as looks like they may make it into the next round as well. Let's see if this group produced enough speed here now, if they generated enough speed for Derek Hamill to break into the 43s, and indeed he did, a 43.715. That puts him up to actually 14th fastest on the chart. So from 40th to 14th, that is a very nice improvement. A little less than 3.5 minutes remaining as Vance Caldwell returns back to the track. There's your current fastest car on the racetrack here, the 94 of Cody Smart. I'm really actually surprised, though, that, if I were Smart, Haas, Dunham, Spurley tube for absolute certain, I would take my cars back to the garage here or down on pit road or whatever, just wait till the next round. You know you're going to make it, more than likely. The likelihood that we're going to have 7 or 8 cars put down faster laps within these final 2 3/4 minutes, very, very slim. So why take a chance of being out there, getting your car wrecked like we saw happen with Roberts and Bright, and have to go to a backup car regardless of where your qualifying position is? Oh no, maybe we'll have some speed in this group here. If none of these drivers hit pit road, they're going to have time to produce maybe 5 or 6 laps. Looking at some drivers here like Zach Winkle, Jose Mills, Jay Jefferson here, JT Bryant. They might be able to do something in the closing stages. And look down there, those drivers on the bubble spot. William Duncan, Preston Plord, Vance Caldwell. They could be in trouble. We got a spinner off turn 4. And they're spinning towards the front straightaway. Benjamin Miles has spun. He's going to get a hit from Derek Hamill. This is going to be in front of traffic. And they just clipped somebody. Someone just clipped him. Was that... that's Cody Smart! The pole sitter! Or, well, not the pole sitter, but the fastest in this session. And if Cody Smart has to go to a backup car, then he is forfeiting his spot into the next round, and that would put it to the next driver in line, who would currently be 11th, and that would be Laurent Lamount, would move on to the next round of qualifying. This is exactly what I was just saying. Why was the 94 on track? To what purpose? He knew he was going to make it into the next round. Why risk a chance of having yourself get caught up in a wreck? And I don't see how they're going to get that car fixed to be able to get him back out there for the second round. You go to a backup car, you forfeit your qualifying spot. There's Derek Hamill, the 32. Talked about him getting a little bit more speed in his car, and we saw him get into it with Benjamin Miles, though both those cars didn't exactly look terribly damaged, so they might be able to continue. There you see the smoke lingering out of turn 4 after that wreck. And I have a feeling Cody Smart's going to be coming to pit road here, and I believe he's going to be going back to the garage area. The whole right front of that car has been ripped away, the right front tire exposed. And there's just no way aerodynamically that car is going to produce enough speed, and I just don't see them trying to repair that car and get him back out there for the second round of qualifying. If he goes to a backup, he's forfeiting his spot, and that's indeed going to be the case. So, wow, right there you're looking at who would technically be the fastest in this session now. Second place, Matt Haas. Right now, the driver that is hoping and praying things don't change in terms of speed would be, if I can find him, Oh, I think I just saw him. Right there, that car. Laurent Lamount right now in 11th, which technically would be 10th, with Cody Smart going to a backup car. So right now, Laurent Lamount has the final spot to transfer into the second round of qualifying. As things stand, it would be Matt Haas, Trent Dunham, Riley Spurley-Tube, Tristan Folks, Joshua Sakuli, Shane Lake, Vance Caldwell, Preston Plord, William Duncan, and the 36 of Lamount. With Cody Smart going to a backup car, and with the speed we saw produced, the only car that had a 43.4 out of Cody Smart. I mean, that's a hit twice, with the fact that he's not only going to forfeit a chance of being on the pole position, but he also is going to lose out on taking the green here at Daytona in what was a very, very fast Best Buy Ford. That is huge in terms of this qualifying session. It means we're going to have as many as 3 drivers starting at the rear of the field in backup machines. I believe the session will be coming to a close here. And Lamount still sits in the 11th position, and he will stay there, which means he will move on to the next round of qualifying.
To your cars.
So there you go. You can ignore the 94 of Cody Smart there, because Smart going to a backup car will not move on to the next round of qualifying. So technically 2nd through 11th are your 10 drivers that will move on to battle for the pole. Matt Haas, Trent Dunham, Riley Spurley-Tube, Tristan Folks, Joshua Sakuli, Shane Lake, Vance Caldwell, Preston Plord, William Duncan, and Laurent Lamount. And then you've got Cody Smart, Eli Bright, and J.J. Roberts. They're all going to be going to backup cars, so the rest of the field will basically look like this. 11th on down will be Jack Mitchell, Derek Hamill, Seth Cole, Austin LaPlante, Ashlyn Boyd, Roger Ray, Andrew Millard, Zach Winkle, Sebastian Kukulon, Diego Yepes, Brady Burkhart, Joshua Lee, Kyle Matthews, Jonathan Zorline, Johnny Gardner, Ryan Butcher, Jay Jefferson, Carter Friesen, Jake Rogers, James Qualls, Benjamin Miles, Philip Goldberg, Jose Mills, JT Bryant, Patrick Zitch, Zachary Taylor, and Jessica Shelton was a driver that never broke into the 43s either. So both her and Derek Hamill having some difficulties, I guess, with getting into a pack. So she'll be starting near the rear of the field. And then 3 drivers that will start from 38th through 40th in the upcoming race to start off the season. 38th will be Cody Smart, 39th will be Eli Bright, and 40th will be J.J. Roberts. So the spots 11 through 40 have been determined here for qualifying. It's now time to find out who's going to start on the pole. Round 2 of qualifying coming up next. So now it's time to find out of our 10 drivers that transferred into round 2, who's going to be starting on the pole position. This is going to determine our top 10 for the starting grid as well. And I'm also going to point out as well, too, this is a little bit longer of a qualifying session here today, and we'll have equally as long a qualifying session on our Division 2. But don't get used to it, because basically we have the longer session in round 1 and everything to be able to introduce you to the drivers. We're not going to be doing that for the remainder of the season. Basically, the remainder of the season, the first round of qualifying is going to be 15 minutes. The second round is 10 minutes. So we had a longer round 1 just basically because of the fact that I wanted everybody to be able to see the division they were in, get an introduction to the drivers, but it's going to be a much shorter qualifying session in the future at all the other super speedways that we go to. Going to Vance Caldwell here in the 16. If you don't count the fact that Cody Smart got involved in the wreck, Vance Caldwell was the 8th fastest driver in the first round of qualifying. But if you're counting the departure of Cody Smart, then he would technically be the 7th fastest in qualifying. Trent Dunham coming out on track. Maybe he and Daytona warming up to each other as he advanced to the second round. He was the 3rd fastest in round 1. 2nd fastest if you don't count the 94 of Cody Smart. And it'll be interesting to see with Trent and also Matt Haas, who theoretically with Cody Smart not moving on to the next round was the fastest driver in qualifying to move on to round 2. We'll have to see if Matt Haas can back up that speed to maybe start on the pole position. I believe he's the only Toyota that moved on to the second round of qualifying. We've got a few Fords here, Vance Caldwell and William Duncan. We've got Chevrolets with Riley Spurley-Tube, Trent Dunham, Shane Lake. And I don't think we have any Dodges. I think the highest Dodge was Eli Bright, who was 12th fastest, but of course we know that neither did he make it to the next round of qualifying, nor is he going to be starting up near the front anyway, because he is going to a backup car. Well, Spurley-Tube and Lamount both just set 46s, but I believe that both of them just took the green. Reason that they have 46 second lap times and someone like Preston Plord has over a minute is based on where the pit stalls are. Oh, Lamount's going to catch up to Shane Lake here, so that's going to hurt his lap time. Boy, he was setting a pretty good one, and I think this is going to slow him up. I don't think this is going to be any faster. Maybe a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be that much more. Yeah, he was slower. He was a full second slower, about 0.6 off his fastest lap, as Riley Spurley-Tube right now has the fastest lap at a 45.762. We saw drivers hitting the 43s in the first round of qualifying. I don't think we'll see anything close to that, as there's only 10 drivers on track. And right now, Spurley-Tube's got a nice draft off the back of Trent Dunham. So this could be a really good lap time for the 38. Unless he catches the one before the start-finish line, that's going to slow him up. I think he's got him lined up just right. Now he'll dive to the inside. Let's see what this is. This could be somewhere in the range of a high 44 maybe. And surprisingly, it was 0.2 slower, 45.9. Wow. Shane Lake running in the draft for the 36, just set a 46.314. I would look right here. Preston Plord just jumped to the top of the leaderboard, getting the draft off the 55, 45.402, and with the way he's spaced right now, this next lap could be even faster. You want to have about a car length between you and the car in front to get the best benefit of the draft. I think this lap right here could be somewhere in the 45.2s, because he's still remaining in the draft of these two cars. This is going to be a good lap for Preston Plord. This could be a pole-setting lap. Let's see what it ends up being. 44.721. Wow! What a lap for the Pepsi Chevrolet. And now he's caught up to the back bumper of this group, so I don't think his lap time's going to be any better than that. That right there could be the lap that gets him the pole. Let's see if anybody else has anything lined up to maybe put down a good Q lap. Matt Haas did have Vance Caldwell. Caldwell's coming to pit road. Caldwell right now 6th fastest. Sekuli's by himself. Shane Lake just jumped up to 2nd fastest. Trent Dunham, Riley Spurley-Tube trying to get something going. Trent just set his fastest last time by, and this time improves. He's up to 3rd with a 45.062. Spurley-Tube a 45.057. So they just jumped up to 2nd and 3rd, but they're both 0.3 off the lap that was set by the 24 of Preston Plord. And now Shane Lake, who's 4th fastest with a 45.144. Now he's the guy trying to get the draft off the 24. These two are running nose to tail, so they're producing good speed, but there's just not enough cars in this pack for them to get into the 44s, I don't think. Let's see. Oh, Trent's going to bail. I think they could have set a better lap here if Trent had stuck with the 38. And that's going to hurt Spurley-Tube's lap time. And, oh, wow, he hit a 45.076. About 2/100ths off his last lap, which means they probably, if they had stuck together all the way to the start-finish line, I think that Spurley-Tube and Dunham would have been in the high 44s. Shane Lake, despite being in the draft of the 24, did not set a faster lap for himself that last time. He was about a 10th off. I think that lap that was set there by Preston Plord, I think that was basically the lap that iced it for him. I don't see anybody else. With only 10 drivers on track, I don't see anybody else breaking into the 44.7s. That was set up perfectly, and, well, Shane Lake, it's like he's going to surrender starting on the podium. It's like he's going to basically settle for 4th as he's going to come to pit road. Tristan Folks by himself Right now, 8th fastest on the chart, and that lap was about maybe 6/100 slower than his fastest at a 46.338. Saw a lot of Fords moving into this round, 4 of them in total, and right now they occupy the bottom 3 spots. Vance Caldwell, we're looking at here, the only one that's the highest running in 6th. And just showing you how much importance it is in terms of positioning and having a drafting partner. Matt Haas was 2nd fastest in the first round of qualifying. Right now, he sits to start 7th for the Daytona race. Preston Plord, I believe, was 9th, I want to say, in round 1, and he's top of the leaderboard. And it all comes down to positioning. So it looks like right now we're going to have a Chevrolet front row. As a matter of fact, the first 2 rows will be comprised of Chevrolets. Plord and Spurley Tube in row 1, Dunham and Lake in row 2. Less than 2 minutes to go, and I just don't see anybody close enough to anybody else to be able to get a good draft lap. Dunham and Lamount going to come back out on track. 3rd and 5th on the speed charts for both those drivers. Tristan Folks there still by himself. William Duncan all by his lonesome. There's nobody within the vicinity of anybody else. They're all by themselves. Well, Lamount's going to get up here. Tristan Folks. Oh, he's going to come to pit road. I thought Tristan Folks might try something. Well, these 2 drivers are going to take the green. I don't know if they'll necessarily be able to get 2 laps. They'll maybe get 1 lap in. I don't think Trent's going to be able to really improve on his lap time, but maybe Laurent Lamount could get himself from row 3 up to row 2. Not being the car out in front, though. That's not going to happen. Yeah, I think these 2 are going to be able to get back to the start-finish line to make 1 more lap in this session. But I'm not really sure it's going to make a whole heck of a lot of difference in terms of their starting position. We saw Trent working with Riley Spurley Tube before. See if these 2 can generate enough speed to be able to break into the 44s. If Trent steps out of line here, there's definitely not going to be a chance. They're going to make it down here with about 35 seconds remaining, so they are going to get to set 1 lap, are Lamount and Dunham. Let's see if they're going to be able to improve on their lap times. Trent trying to improve on a 45.062, Lamount on a 45.177, and with Trent Dunham moving low, that's going to hurt their lap time. There's no way that they're going to beat that lap time now. So Preston Plord is going to start on the pole for the very first Skittles Super Speedway Series race here at Daytona. And he will start alongside the 38 of Riley Spurley Tube. What a lap, a 44.721. Now granted, we were hitting 43s in the first session, but we also had 40 cars on track. To even hit in the 44s when there's only 10 drivers qualifying in round 2 is an amazing feat, and tremendous credit to Preston Plord lining it up perfectly to be in the draft of Shane Lake and get that tremendous draft lap. Only driver in this round, the second round, to hit a 44-second lap time. And he will be leading the field to green at Daytona in a couple of days. I believe the session is about to be complete. And I believe it is now official. Yes, it is. Preston Plord will be starting on the pole, and your top 10 for the first race of the season is set. It will be Preston Plord, Riley Spurley Tube in row 1, Trent Dunham, Shane Lake row 2, Laurent Lamount and Vance Caldwell in row 3, Matt Haas, Tristan Folks row 4, and Joshua Sikuli, William Duncan will be in row number 5. The rest of the field was set in round number 1. Thanks everyone for tuning in to this qualifying session. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, become part of the crew today. Also, be sure to get us to our next special event at the $200 mark on the Daytona Dream 2019 GoFundMe.
Drivers,
link is down in the description below. Up next here for scheduling, we've got the Division 2 drivers getting ready for their round of qualifying. And then after that, Division 1 will begin their season here at Daytona with their first race, followed by Division 2. A lot of action still to come here from the Daytona International Speedway as you've been watching a production of the NNSCRA Offline Racing at its best.